Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thanks so much for joining us. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about what I would plant if I only had a small plot for the spring. I released a video last week talking about what I would plant if I only had one small plot for the fall, which I feel like is the most beneficial time to be trying to feed and attract wildlife if you only have one small plot. If you have a lot of plots, I really like to plant a diversity. I'm only talking about those of us that have one small plot and we're trying to figure out what we should plant in it to attract and be able to have the most success hunting over that food plot. In my video last week, I released what I believe is the best food plot if you only have a small food plot that is really good during the hunting season, really good during the fall and winter months. It's a pretty good blend. It is brassicas, cereal grains, and annual clovers. That's the mix that I recommend planting for the fall. If you only have that small plot like what we're in right now, we're in less than a quarter, I would say maybe a half of an acre right here. It's a very small plot. But what would I plant in the spring? Since I posted that video, I've had a ton of people reach out, send me messages, DMs, and said, hey, what do I plant in the spring, Wes? And so I wanted to make a video and go over this because I was getting it so much. I feel like there's a lot of folks that are wondering this question. In a small plot like this, we're going to be able to rule out a lot of things fairly quickly that are your annuals that we're trying to produce grain on. So a corn is not going to do well in here. It's too small, it's too shaded. We're not going to get the sunlight needed. Animals are going to be an issue here with deer, squirrels, raccoons. We're gonna have issues here in a small plot like this, so corn is immediately ruled out. As far as mixes, I don't mind mixes. The issue that I see with mixes, and I have got myself into this is real world experience, I'm not just saying this. If you start mixing stuff, mixing seeds, it sounds really good on paper. If you put it on paper and you say, okay, I'm gonna mix soybeans, I'm gonna mix peas, I'm gonna mix lab, I'm gonna mix, name it. All kinds of different mixes in there. It sounds really, really, really good. But the issue with that is you have nothing to spray. For those of us that struggle from time to time to get a plot established, or maybe we don't have a really expensive drill that's really nice and really accurate, and we can expect super good results, it is really, really difficult to plant those blends, because when you plant those blends, let's say you're covered up in grasses. Well, you have grasses in that blend, so you can't spray it with a grass herbicide. Same way with broadleaves. You've got a lot of legumes and broadleaves out there, so you can't spray it with something that would target broadleaves. So at that point, your stand has to be 100%. Anywhere you've got a thin spot, you're gonna have grass and weeds coming, and there's nothing you can do about it other than manually take them out or let them grow. Those are the only two choices that we have in those scenarios right there. I very much shy away from the mixes. They sound really good. I really like the idea of them, but the practicality of them, of being able to control the grass and the weeds, and I have so many people reach out to me through the subscription and through the site visits, and we talk about this, and people have such a difficult time controlling weeds and grasses in their food plots. And if you want that to be even more compounded, start mixing a bunch of seeds together. At that point, it really gets impossible to control the weeds and grasses that are coming. Right now, if you just plant clover out here, we have several options that we can use to control grasses in clover. We have some options of weeds that we can control in clover. Same way with Roundup Ready corn, Roundup Ready soybeans, lab. A lot of the different plots, we have a way that we can control some of the weeds and grasses. That way it doesn't just absolutely get away from us. The reality of it is the plots that I'm looking at, we're building soil fertility and we're raising the pH. So when we do those things, you are making it much more favorable of an environment for your food plot, but you are also making it much more favorable for all the weeds that are already out here. So those things are going to take off. If you don't put any nitrogen, your soil doesn't have any nitrogen, you won't see a ton of weeds coming. You'll see some. You put 150 pounds of nitrogen on this right here, and these weeds are going to absolutely explode. That is a part of this as well that needs to be into consideration when we're thinking about what food plots that we plant. I still recommend that fall blend that I told you about of the brassicas, the annual clovers, and the cereal grains. for the fall. That's what I think is best to hunt over if you have a small plot like this on your property and you only have one and you don't have a whole bunch of room. That's what I would plant. But what are you planting here in the spring? That's the big question. I would plant a Roundup ready soybean, whether that's a straight ag bean, whether that's a forage bean. Either way, I would plant a soybean in here. Now, I'm gonna lose a lot of you right here because you're gonna say, there's no way they're gonna graze it down. And 100% they are, no question about it. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna plant at a rate of about 500 to 600,000 seeds per acre. I'm not gonna plant this in the very first part of spring. It's soon, like right now, we are starting to get some 70-degree days. The soil temperature is warming up. I am not gonna come out here right now and plant this when there is no other food sources around. You are gonna get ate down immediately. I'm gonna wait a month and a half into planting season. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna plant the Roundup Ready soybeans at a higher rate, between 500 to 600,000 seeds per acre, which is 3 to 4 times over what we're typically planting ag soybeans on. I'm either going to come in and I'm gonna no-till it, or I can work the ground up and I can broadcast that much, but I want you to do the calculation. So if you have a half of an acre, you're talking about 280,000. Do the calculation on 500 to 600,000 per acre on your piece of land. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the fertility that we need. Our P and our K needs to be right, okay? This is important. This is a step that a lot of folks don't take. I'm just gonna plant it out there and we're gonna roll on with it. We need our P and our K and our lime needs to be fairly close to correct. And then, this is a trick that a lot of folks don't know. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna add about 30 to 40 pounds of nitrogen per acre on these soybeans. And what that's gonna do, that's gonna get these soybeans up out of the ground. Soybeans are a legume. They make their own nitrogen through the rhizobia bacteria in the soil. They don't need the nitrogen, but that process takes time. Those rhizobia bacteria infect the roots and then start being able to make its own nitrogen. That takes time. What we don't want is soybeans to come up out of the ground and then grow real slow. That's not good for whitetail forage. We want these things exploding. The bigger we can get them, the better chance that we have of survival. So we're gonna put 30 to 40 pounds of nitrogen down out here to get these soybeans out of the ground. We're gonna plant when the soil is warm. I'm talking 70-degree plus soil temperatures. I want these beans out of the ground in 3 days. That is not gonna happen if I plant right now. They'll get out of the ground, but it would likely take them a week to 10 days. If we plant when this soil temperature is warm, they are going to jump. I mean, it's gonna blow your mind how fast these things get up out of the ground. We're gonna fertilize heavy, we're gonna seed heavy, we're gonna plant when the soil temperatures are warm, and the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna protect this plot for a week to 10 days after germination. I know many of you that have been viewers for a long time, you're probably sick of hearing me say this, but for you new guys, soybeans, when they first come out, you'll see they kind of come up like this and then they straighten out. They'll put on 2 little leathery leaves, okay? And then they're gonna put on another leaf, and then the first set of 3 leaves is called the first trifoliate. At that point, your soybeans cannot be browsed down to the ground. At that point, they are established. Anybody who says that, man, my soybeans just got ate down to the ground and they're completely gone, that's because they ate them at that 2 leathery leaf stage. They didn't wait until get that first trifoliate on there. If they would have, the deer would have been held off for a week to 10 days while that first trifoliate came out, they'll eat them all the way down to the ground and they'll just sprout right back. So why would I recommend this? You have tons of high quality nutrition to feed your whitetails all summer. Is this gonna make soybeans, it's gonna make 50 bushel an acre soybeans that we're gonna be a hunt over in the winter? Absolutely not. Way too small of a plot. Ain't gonna happen. This will provide your whitetails with high quality nutrition all year long that is high in protein. The beauty part of this is every time they chew that thing down, the roots are still going down. So the roots are getting deeper and they're getting deeper and they're getting deeper and they're getting deeper. And so this stalk starts getting thicker and thicker and thicker. So it's pulling nutrients from the soil and it's putting them into these little leaves. It's trying to get established and it can't because the deer are chewing it off. But guess what? Those little leaves are full of nutrients, and that will keep a deer very, very happy with high protein levels all summer long. It's something that I've done a lot in the past and it has worked really well. You have to protect it. You have to make 100% sure that those soybeans are protected. Don't start protecting it right after you plant. It doesn't matter at that point. The soybeans should be buried under the ground. The deer can't get to them. There's no sense in putting your scarecrow, your fencing, whatever you're going to put out there. Don't put that out there right after you plant. That's just wasting precious time that the deer are going to get used to that. Don't do that. If you're planting when I'm telling you to, on the third or fourth day, you should have soybeans up. And at that point, that's when soybeans are most susceptible. Deer love those little soybeans. I'm telling you right now. And you think 500,000, a herd of 5 to 7 deer will wipe them out overnight if you don't protect it. So you must protect that plot. You must put a scarecrow, put a fence, put wind motion, do whatever you got to do to get something out there that's going to protect that plot for 7 to 10 days to let that first trifoliate get going. The more trifoliates that you can get on, the better, but 7 to 10 days should get you into that first trifoliate. You'll see it, it's pretty easy to see. It's just it'll be the first set of 3 leaves that come out together. Soybeans grow in leaves of 3 after their initial first couple of leaves at the bottom. Protect it, high fertilizer with 30-40 pounds of nitrogen. Wait till the soil temperatures are warm and plant at a much higher population, between 500,000 and 600,000 seeds per acre. Roundup ready. Make sure you plant Roundup ready. One of the big issues that I see with this is folks don't plant Roundup ready soybeans, or they plant, say, Lab or something like that. Well, then all of a sudden it goes back to weed control. You're not going to get any shade from these soybeans. These soybeans are never going to shade the ground out to where weed and grass pressure slows down. This is because these things are going to be grazed down. This is not going to look like the front cover of a food plotter magazine, but I'm telling you, it's going to be really beneficial to your whitetails. These plants are likely only going to get 3 to 4 inches tall. We can come in with 2 or 3 applications of Roundup throughout the year, spray, kill the grass and weeds that are in there, and our soybeans are going to be weed and grass free. And it's going to set us up much better for that fall when we're ready to plant our brassicas, when we're ready to plant our annual clovers and our cereal grains. We're going to have a clean spot, but yet we're going to provide nutrition the entire summer. So something that I really recommend, that I really like. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Smash that like and subscribe button.